Good morning, everyone. So it's now 12 minutes past 9 in the morning here in Les Sables d'Olonne. It's 12 past 8 UTC in the morning, and we're doing live updates on the tracker every day now, right through for Mark and Jean-Luc arrival in Les Sables d'Olonne. So just to confirm that, on Wednesdays it's me on English. On Thursdays it'll be Christophe in French. No, sorry, what's today? Tuesday. So today is Tuesday, so Christophe will be doing Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays in French. I'll be doing English on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturday, Sunday in English, and then alternate days you'll get the written reports in the alternate languages. So today's written entrant update on Facebook will actually be in French. I'll be writing it and Celine will translate it, long story, and that'll be put on skipper updates on the website as well, and latest news. We got a bit behind on the website updates because of our trip up to Düsseldorf for the boot show. Good to see all those people that came there as well, and we missed the Saturday question and answers, so I'm going to do them sometime today. I'll do a live update and overview the entire race, so from the office here, so you can tune into that sometime this afternoon, and we'll go from there. So what do we got? Weather's playing tricks again, but let's start off with Tapio back at the fleet here. He got through that previous lot of heavy weather, and now he's making to the northeast as fast as he can, because there is another really interesting and kind of strange storm forming up right below him here. He's already into the solid breezes there. He's got 45, maybe even 50s from the northwest, but he's still making northeast rather. So that's important. That was a bit big, so we'll come back here. I'll just focus that so it doesn't pulsate. So yeah, so here's the center of this low, and it's going to do some funny things. So I'll click it forward every 3 hours and you'll see what happens. It's basically moving across to the west, but then it stops and it sort of slows right down, and while it's slowing down, this sort of intense area of 60s, 70s starts to build and move north. You can see the top of it, it's starting to head up north while the whole system's sort of rotating around the central core. So Tapio is going to be in for a bit of a blow here, and that's really only 24 hours time. And in 24 hours, if we come back here at the moment, he's making 3.7 knots to the northeast. That's not going to change, and in fact, it's going to get more demanding for him to make northeast. So let's say he's making 3 knots. That's only 75 miles, and 75 miles is in that direction is about there. So he's going to be above his P just there, okay? And you can see if I now roll back this weather, oops, sorry, I've got to click on, every time you move something, you've got to click on that little number there, and then you can drop it back in 3-hour increments. So you can see he's basically going to be just about where the P is on Tapio. I'll build this up again so you can see it a bit better. So he's going to be about there in 24 hours, and this is, I'll go right back to the beginning here so you can see how it's going to form around him. Well, not envelop him, but he's got a northwesterly, 45, 50 knots. Then fortunately it changes to the southwest before the sea's got a chance to build up too big. It'll still be big, but it's not a dramatic sudden change with the worst part of it in sort of 60, 70 knots. But here comes the big stuff. This area in here is definitely 70 knots. This is sort of, gusting 60 in here, and this is sort of 50s, 55s on the purple. So it's starting to come through. He does all right, and then all of a sudden he's into it. It starts to extend north. So that's 8 o'clock. So there's 3. Again, the worst part's only over about 6 or 8 hours, so that's not too bad. And it's coming from, he'll be running away with it. He'll be heading northeast at that stage, running with it. So he should be okay. Possibly missing just the worst of it, but still going to be a story there. I think this is a bit bigger than what he's had in the last 2 or 3. He's managed to be right on the edge and not get the full force of it. But this time, I think he's going to get a little bit more. And let's have a look at what the sea state's doing. Okay, so this area here is forecasting 9 meters, and that means if we go back on that, he's going to be getting, if they're forecasting 9, he's going to be getting 10, 12 meter seas in here. So we'll stand by. We're monitoring everything, and it's going to be an interesting 24 hours for Tapio. So come back to the weather, the wind rather. We get into that. scale it down so we'll see how this evolves again and goes past him. Okay, so once he's through that, just on the top of it, this was the danger zone actually down here. He wouldn't want to be down there. That's reminiscent of Gregor and Abelesh. But anyway, starts to settle down pretty quickly, and then he's slowly but surely making it towards Cape Horn over here. And we would hope then that he gets he gets a few days respite before the next lot comes through. That's the 25th, so we've got 3 days in advance. There's another one coming down here, and it's going to go right through where he is, but it's dying off. You can see by then this is the 27th, so he's got 5 days in advance. He'll be over here. So let's hope this forecast is true and it doesn't intensify. It's just turning into Southern Ocean weather, and he keeps going. There's another one coming. They're coming through consistently. By then, this is the 28th, so that's 6 days in advance. He's going to be over here. That looks like fun, but we'll have to just wait and see. It's a bit too far to be worried about it right now. But certainly there's no doubt that Tapio is still sitting in the Southern Ocean, having to contend with all the things that means, like continual gales and so on coming through. So we'll be happy when he turns the corner. Istvan's a sad story at the moment. If we just focus on that, Uku's definitely up in the trades, but Istvan's going to have plenty of challenges here. Not serious ones, just frustrating and annoying ones. You'll see as we push this through, he's got strong, well, in fact, they're coming from the northwest here because it's on the edge, but effectively it's just a whole lot of headwinds, but he won't even be able to get there because he's got these little troughs coming through. He's going to be back and forwards. It moves around. It's very hard to make progress. That's a day and a half away. You can see confusing. Again, well, he's going to be heading out to the northeast, but little bits and pieces of everything. There'll be squalls in there, then it goes to headwinds again. So progress, and then by then he'll be up here, so he shouldn't miss this trough, but then it's light winds, then it comes to headwinds again. He'll have to take back across to the coast. So he's just coming through into the horse latitudes, and you saw what happened to Uku when he was there. I've just pulled the weather right back to today again, go a bit bigger. In fact, I'll just explain it. It's the transition between this Southern Ocean stuff and the trade winds up the top. There's this whole mix here in the horse latitudes that is just confusion, and it's hard to get through. And Uku's now got through, but Istvan's got a few days, so don't expect a lot of progress. And you can see now, if we look at Uku, he's making 5.4 knots, heading straight north on course. You've got consistent easterly trade winds here now, reasonably solid. So he's really enjoying that, there's no question. And if we follow this through every 3 hours, it's lightening off. It makes it pleasant, but there's certainly enough breeze there to keep speeds up around 5 knots or more. So he's making pretty good time there. Keeps on going, and it's going to go. It's fluffing in and out, getting light, getting strong. This will push him all the way up. It's holding direction. We're on the 25th there. Nothing's changing. So yeah, it's exactly what you expect. And then the trades are filling in again. So the next band for him, this is the corner, and then he'll be up to the equator. It's going to take a while, but if you look here, you can see the doldrums. They're there. They exist, and he's got to get through that. But that's still a week or so away yet. So generally, Uku's pretty happy for the next week. He's enjoying the ride north. Excuse me, and we'll look forward to seeing him soon. Okay, so the main game. This is very interesting right now, and it's changing so fast. Last night when I was looking at this, I was thinking, oh, Jean-Luc's clearing now. He's away from the centre of this high. This is going to dictate the weather for the next 3 or 4 days, or at least 3 days, for both of them. And basically, this is the main game right now. In the next 3 days, things will be determined, I reckon, because once they get away from this one, it's a pretty clear run, and we know exactly what's coming if the forecast holds true. But this is still unstable. The centre of this high is unstable, and exactly where it's going to go and what's going to happen. So it's still too early to predict too much, other than the fact if you watch this, you'll see what's going to happen. I'll try and keep it so we can look at both of them. So right now, I'll just focus in on that. Okay, so Mark's got pretty solid headwinds. That's probably 30 knots in there, 25, 30 knots. Probably a 2 metre sea, and he's holding high, going to windward on port tack, and he's making 5.8 knots. He's used to that. He's been doing it for weeks and weeks and weeks. So that's his lot for the moment. Jean-Luc is free sheeted a bit. He's 5.5 knots. Again, he knows where he wants to go. He's got it on the beam. C will be a little bit easier to ride with because he's not pushing into it. So that's kind of good because that's on the weak side of his mast. And let's just now look at what happens as it progresses. So we'll go through every 3 hours. You can see the high is starting to generally trend following them. However, it's now below Jean-Luc's position. So if you just look at Jean-Luc for the moment, his winds are going from the north. They're swinging around to the northwest. That's favourable for him. He will probably ride up a little bit with that, because you've got to remember here's the corner, there's the Bay of Biscay. He will, rather than head straight across here, he might ride that, keep the boat speed up and keep coming up just a little bit more and try and race away from this centre. So while Jean-Luc is getting favourable winds 24 hours time, Mark Slats is still in headwinds because whatever he's doing here, he's tacking one way or the other to try and reach up here, and he's on the wrong side of this high, whereas Jean-Luc appears at this stage to be on the right side. So we'll carry it through again, and it's heading now clearly underneath Jean-Luc, so that appears to be okay. And at this point, the winds are now swinging more around to the east for Mark Slats, and as that happens, he's got a couple of choices. He can go on starboard tack and start to head up to a little bit more northerly, right? He's definitely not going to go down on port tack because he's going away from the mark, so he's going to tack. But as he's tacking, he's heading up into the centre of the high where there's no wind. So that's a challenge in the next 24 hours for Mark to decide what to do. And then where's it going? Okay, well, initially, you can see it's now starting to, well, in fact, this is the transition. It's now starting to cause a problem for Mark because this is now nearly, it's a day and a half away, 36 hours. So let's just do a distance check. In 36 hours, remembering Mark's going to windward, so his actual course forward, he might only make 120 miles forward because he's got a tack. He's going to come down here and up there and stuff like that. So he's going to be here somewhere, going up here. It's a problem. It's definitely a problem for Mark. So what's Jean-Luc done? Now Jean-Luc's making 5s on course. So let's just, okay. Got to get a distance mark. There's a day and a half, so 120. He might make 150 miles in front. So in the next 36 hours, maybe even a bit more. So he's going to be over in this area, and look at that. It gives him still solid breezes. So let's for now say somewhere at the end of his name here. He's going to be up here at this time, so that could be a good thing because he's away from the centre of the high, and Mark's been influenced by this other one. And we'll continue to click it through on 3-hourly increments. Okay, and watch what's happening. I'll scale this back now. So it'll all depend on where Jean-Luc is. If he gets the other side of this moving centre, right, he may be okay. But it's starting to catch up to him really quick. But it's appearing as if he should be over here somewhere at that stage. So if, it'll all depend on what happens to this centre, and the centres are one of the hardest things to project on the computer modelling, exactly where it's going to go and what it's going to do. In 24 hours time, the position of this centre could be completely different. So it's still very hard to predict, but I'd have to say that in relation to Mark, because Mark's going to be down here somewhere, if he's going forward on course, he's got more of a headwind slant. He's not likely to go up. If he goes north, he's got the issue of running out of wind, and he's not likely to go around it. He can't get around it. So generally speaking, I'd say the weather at the moment is favouring Jean-Luc's position rather than Mark's position. And it's going to be very tricky, so that's to predict, but I'd have to say Jean-Luc appears to have the better run on this. Let's go, and this is where it starts to wind out. If we go through now, I'm pushing through to the same time today at 25th of January. So this is 3 days in advance. Let's say Jean-Luc has made 120 miles a day on course. So that's going to be about 360 miles from where he is now. Okay, now 300, or let's just be conservative, 330 miles from where he is now. So he's going to be about in here. He may stay ahead of this whole centre of the high, right? And if he has, and he's made 360 miles, my suggestion is that Mark in the scheme of things, because of the complications with the centre of the high, is not going to make 360. He might make 240 or something, but you can see even in the arc of probability, he's still going to be down here somewhere. He's still on the wrong side of this high. This is one he hasn't been able to reach. So even though they started off in the same system, that distance apart, north-south, is playing into Jean-Luc's game plan really well. And so it's a bit of a disadvantage for Mark, okay? And this is where it changes now, because so remember, this is the 25th. This is now 3 days ahead, and this is the point at which everything will change. If Jean-Luc is up here and Mark Slatz is down here somewhere, this is when it becomes a boat race, because if we now forget about their positions, because it's a bit too hard to tell where they're going to be, if this forecast holds true, right, bearing in mind there's the finish over here in the Sable d'Olonne, okay, so we're over here. I'll try and get both of them in. Yeah, there's Mark. Okay, so here's the finish line. I'll put the course on so you can see, there it is there. Remembering that Jean-Luc now is advanced up over here. In fact, sorry to confuse you, I'm going to go back so you can see the weather developing. Now we'll just scroll it through and you watch and we're only interested in what's going to happen in the lead-in weather towards the finish, because remember Jean-Luc's saying he's on the finish for the 30th or 31st of January. This is fantastic weather. If you're out of the way of the centre now, it's all behind you. You're moving fast, you're sailing fast, it's all following breezes, you know, or it's on the quarter, okay, so it's all fast. It's still all fast, everything there's fast, and even when this heavy weather comes, it's from the northwest, which is basically reaching now, but heavy weather reaching, so it's going to be hard. The waves and sea will be on the beam, you know, smashing the boat around, remembering that this is Jean-Luc's weak side. But if he made it past that high, I would suggest, while this is happening, Mark Slatz is going to be coming in from behind. Okay, he will get a boost at this stage, so it'll be a boat race, and I'm expecting to see Jean-Luc in front by maybe as much as 250 miles or whatever, and Mark Slatz will be trying to hunt him down. And this is where Jean-Luc's going to have to decide how much he can press his mast. So this is the 26th. You know, they'll be coming in here somewhere. Still all favourable wind direction. Forget about the strength, but there's nothing there that's suggesting headwinds. It's all fast sailing. There's the 27th. This is all good stuff. It's lightening off. You know, Mark's going to be in the same wind direction here. He'll be going hell for leather and really going for it. The closing stages now. This is the 28th, 29th. They're getting close. But then look at this. Here's the next drama. Or not a drama, but I'm hoping that Jean-Luc is going to be, and Mark Slatz is going to be so close at this stage that they're going to be in here somewhere, and we might not, hang on, I've just got to hit that again, we might not get impacted by this too much. And remembering now, we're talking the 29th, it's the 22nd, this is a week ahead, and I've been watching these storms, and every time there's a new forecast, they're changing, so it's still too early to predict what will happen, but there's 45s in there coming through, and that's on the 29th, and if Jean-Luc and Mark get this kind of weather, and Jean-Luc was in that position in front of the centre of the high, he could arrive earlier than he's expecting. In fact, his last message, I think, said that if the weather forecast looks correct, then he might even get there on the 29th. So we may have to review the ETAs. At the moment, we're saying the 31st, and on Friday we'll make another prediction, and we'll have a better idea of what they're doing getting past this high. But here it is coming through. Even there on the 30th, plenty of breeze, all from the right direction. So they're not going to be tacking, they're just going to be blast reaching or running or whatever. On the 31st, you get a bit of a window and a calm. Wouldn't that be funny if this is correct? And they're getting in the last, 80 miles. Huge blow coming from behind and no wind out the front of the sands here. So there's the 31st. Look, complete calm along the coast. So who knows what's going to happen. Anyway, watch this space. It's a hell of a race, and the adventure continues. Thanks for that.